it's Christy. So excited to be back with you on the Lawnfawn YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be making a cart using the brand new Treat Cart and Whoosh kites. So I've stamped those images out on Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White cardstock with jet black ink, and I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers. I'm starting with my mice, and today I'm going to use my favorite combo for mice, which is W00, W1, E70, and E71. Starting with the E71 and laying in some shadows on this first little mom or dad, whatever you want them to be. And then I'm blending that out with the E70 and using the W1 as the highlight. Then I'm going to take that W1 and add a little bit of that to the belly and the inner ear and blend that out with the W00 and let that fade into the white cardstock. When the E70s are mixed with those warm grays, it turns into this really cozy grayish tone that I just think looks so soft and velvety. It reminds me of a chinchilla, and I just really love it. It has become my favorite combo for mice, although there's so many different ways to color them. So I'm going to continue coloring all of the adult mice in this same way, just changing the shadows based on the way that they are facing so that their faces stay nice and light, so you can make out all of those adorable little features, and the shadows fall down their backs. So as I was coming up with this card concept, I had originally planned to use the critters that come with the Treat Cart stamp set because they are super adorable, but I just happened to notice that the mice in the Whoosh Kites stamp set are all either holding something in their hands or have their arms outstretched, which makes it really easy to replace that twine with something else and have them be holding on to other things. And so I tried it with the different little ice creams and popsicles and realized that they would be perfectly suited to go along with the Treat Cart stamp set. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So I'm not going to be coloring in any of the twine. We're actually going to be covering all of that up, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The baby mouse I wanted to be just a bit lighter, so I used the E70 and blended out with the W00. And now I'm going to be adding in some rosy cheeks to all of these mice, also coloring in their noses and the insides of their ears. I'm doing that with R11 and R20, adding some R20 first to their ears and their cheeks, and then filling in their noses with that R20 completely. And then I'll take that R11 and blend out the edges of the cheeks and the inner ear. And then while I have those colors out, I'm also going to do a few more accessory images like the tiny ice cream cone that is on the menu board. And I actually stamped that in there. That is a separate stamp, and the same with the ice cream choices. There's some different options to stamp in that sign. So I added in our 000 to this combo, and I'm going to start coloring in the awning for my ice cream cart, and I'm skipping 3 and then coloring the next one because I want to have 3 shades on my awning. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pennant banner. I'll do the first and the last of those with this combo. Then I'll also do the little cup for my hot fudge sundae, or you could make it any kind of sundae that you want, but mine is going to be hot fudge. And then I will also do the little cup on that display piece that is going to go in the ice cream cart. Then I'm going to move on to E40 and E41, and I'll start doing some more stripes on the awning. So every other stripe is going to be this creamy white. So I'll start with the E41, blend out with the E40, and then just leave the plain white cardstock for the highlight. I'm also going to do 2 more of the pennant banners, and I'm going to use this for my vanilla ice cream. So I'll do that for the hot fudge sundae. Just blending that out, and then also for the center of the wheels and for the display ice cream cone as well. Then I'm going to darken this combo up slightly by adding in the E42, and I will do the outer part of the menu board. So I'm just doing it in some light tones so that you're still able to read the description, but I think it would also be fun to color it like a chalkboard and maybe heat emboss the words on there. I think that could be a really fun look. But I didn't want to have any black on today's card. I wanted to keep to a very simple color palette. The next combo I'm using is G quadruple 0, G00, and G02. I'll do the rest of the stripes on the awning and the middle pennant banner. Then I'll do the extra scoop of ice cream up toward the top, which is going to be mint chocolate chip, which is my personal favorite ice cream flavor. And then I'll also do the center little cup of ice cream on that display case. And then I'm also going to use these shades to color in the framework of the ice cream cart. So I wanted the color palette that I'm using today to be representative of ice cream flavors. So it's got vanilla, strawberry, mint chocolate chip, and then we'll also have some chocolate in there. I just thought it would be really fun to kind of emphasize the theme of the card with the color palette of the card. So I just limited myself to the very simple tones that I wanted to use and then made my choices of what to use where throughout the card. So for the ice cream cart, I just placed my shadows where I thought they should go, up under the awning, down at the base of the poles on the side, and then on both the left and the right with the highlight in the center. Then for the chocolate, I'm going to use E43, E44, and E47. And I'm going to do the two popsicles, the one that is in that display, and then also the other one that's on the side. I'll also do the hot fudge on my sundae. I just put my shadows on the right and my highlights on the left for all of those. And then I'm also going to do the fudge container. I'm not going to do the label in this combo because I think it would make it pretty hard to read, but I'll do the outer areas with that. And then I am going to attempt to make that top little green scoop into the mint chocolate chip ice cream by adding in some flecks with both the E44 and the E47, so some of it looks a bit more mixed in and some is more settled on top. Because I am sticking to these ice cream tones, I decided not to bring in any black for the wheels of my ice cream cart. Instead, I opted to go with a really rich dark brown, so I added in the E49, blended out with the E47, and then used the E44 for the highlight, so I did not use the E43 on those items. And then I'm also going to do the frame of my menu board in that same combo. So again, it's just the darkest three shades. And I hope that helps the menu part with the words on it really stand out. There's another list in that stamp set that says honey berry carrot, and I think that would be so much fun to use with the mice or any other critters as well. But again, I wanted this list to kind of represent the color palette, so that's why I went with this one. So I'm going to go back to the colors that I used for my vanilla ice cream flavor. I'm going to use the E40, E41, and E42 to do the band across the ice cream cart and also the display case piece. I'm going to use just the E42 to do the popsicle sticks and then the E42 with the E41 for the ice cream cones. And then I'll also use those three shades for the fudge label. So all that's left is the cherry on my hot fudge sundae. So for that, I'm going to use R22 and R24. And then I'm going to grab a black Sakura Jelly Roll pen and get that started off to the side. And then I'll go over the eyes of my mice that have their eyes open to make those bright and shiny, and trim these images out with their matching dies. For my focal panel, I'm going to start with a piece of Bristol smooth surface cardstock cut down with the largest of the small stitch rectangle stackables, and I'm going to do some ink blending using some stencils to create a little background scene. So I'm starting with the cloudy stencil and some salvaged patina distress oxide ink to create some clouds. And I'm just starting with the ink pressed more firmly as I leave that stencil so I get a nice crisp impression, and then I lift off on the pressure a bit as I go up the panel to give it that soft hazy look. I'm going to cover about 3/4 of this panel with the sky. So I did 3 cloud formations, just turning that stencil each time. And then I'll add a little extra ink down at the bottom so that's not quite so stark white. I do want to also add some splatter detail to give a bit of extra interest to the background. So I pressed some of that ink onto an acrylic block, added a bit of water to that to make it more fluid, and then I'm tapping it off the edge of the block with a thin paintbrush. I let that dry, and then I'm coming in with the slimline grassy stencil, and I'm going to start with some Lucky Clover Distress Oxide ink. I wanted something that would match well with the mint chocolate chip colors that I had used, so I went with something that was a bit more cool toned, and I'm going to blend that out with some cracked pistachio. And I'm going to work my way back and forth between these 2 ink colors until I have a blend that I'm happy with. And then I'm going to keep that stencil in place so that I can do some more splatter. It's going to cover my sky so I don't have to worry about any of the green ink getting up there. And then I'll just tap that off the side of the block again to get those fine droplets. Then I can lift off the stencil to reveal the background and set this aside to dry again. Once it has dried fully, I'm going to pop it in my MISTI so that I can stamp my sentiment. I'm going to use some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm stamping "Have the Coolest Birthday Ever." I'm going to stamp that down twice to make sure it's nice and bold on there, and then I'll remove that from my MISTI and pop my card base in place. That is some lawnfawn Ballet Slippers cardstock, and I'm stamping in bubblegum ink. And I took the little banana split image and then the sentiment, "You're the sweetest." And I did stamp that one down 3 times to make sure it was nice and bold because the ink does dry back just a little bit. And then I'm going to move on to some pattern paper. I'm going to take one of these sheets from the spiffier Speckles 6x6, this one that kind of looks like strawberry ice cream, and I'm going to trim that out with the largest of the large stitch rectangle stackables. And then I can glue this to the front of my card base using the glue tube. I'm going to just add a thin bead of glue all along the outside edges and then line that up on my card front. Make sure that the corners are meeting up and smooth that into place. I'll also glue my focal panel to the card base. Then I can bring in my images, and I have added some foam tape to the back of a few of these to create some dimension in this scene. So I'm going to start with the ice cream cart, just removing the foam tape release papers, and then I'm going to line that up just to the left of the sentiment. I'm just making sure that I have everything on there nice and straight, and then I can pop that down into place. Then I can grab the little menu board and I'm going to glue that below the sentiment on the right side, giving a little bit of space there because I want to have a little mouse in between that and the ice cream cart. Then I will start taking the mice images and just trimming off the ends of the twine for the kite strings. I'm not going to remove the entire thing because actually having a little bit of that gives me something to glue the other images on top of. And I will also just cut off the bottom of the feet of this little mouse so that I have room to pop him down into the cart and have him kind of meet up with the foam tape that's holding that cart up into place. Then I'll take that display image with the different ice cream cones and popsicles and things and pop that in next to him on the left. and I'm going to give him the little fudge container to hold in his hands. Then I'm going to take the little mouse that has the baby on his back, and I will pop that up with some foam tape over on the left side there with his arm kind of raised up. And then I'll take the mouse with both arms up in the air, and I'm going to place him between the ice cream cart and the menu board, and he is going to be lifting up his hot fudge sundae so that the mouse that is working the cart can pour the fudge on top for him. So then I'm going to take the third little mouse and I'll put him over on the right to fill in that empty space. And then I realized I forgot to add my banner to the front of my ice cream cart, so I'm going to grab that quick and just slide it under the hot fudge sundae. That's just popped up on foam tape, so I was able to get that stuck underneath there pretty easily, but I should have done it before I added the hot fudge sundae, but that's okay. It all worked out. And then I'm going to give the mouse on the right the chocolate popsicle to hold. And then the mom or dad mouse is going to be holding on to that strawberry ice cream cone. He's kind of lifting it up to the baby so that she can get a lick, and then I'll add the mint chocolate chip scoop on top of that. For a little extra embellishment, I'm going to add some tiny little iridescent hearts from Studio Katia. I'm just going to do a little dab of glue here and there with the glue tube, and then I'll use my embellishment wand to pick up those little hearts and set them into place. So I'm just adding a few here and there at first, and then I can adjust as needed, and if the drop is too big, I'll just dab a little bit off with my finger so it doesn't squish out from the sides of the little hearts. So I'm using one end of that embellishment wand to pick up those little hearts and set them into the drop of glue, and then using the other end to straighten the hearts and make sure that they are up and down, because otherwise they might not read as hearts if they were sideways or upside down. So added all of those, and then I felt like I needed one more just above the sentiment, so I went ahead and added that. And those are just a subtle detail that really show off when you tip the card into the light. Speaking of which, I'm also going to add a little bit of Stardust Stickles, which is my favorite embellishment, and I'll add that to all of my ice creams, except for the hot fudge sundae. I put it on the hot fudge. And that is actually going to finish off this card, so I am going to lift that up so you can see all of the detail, hopefully catch some of that shimmer and shine, and give you another peek at the inside. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and leave me a comment down below. I'd love to read your feedback. Let me know what your favorite flavor of ice cream is. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I hope you had a good one, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye-bye!